Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Cropper, Mr. Rourke, and Mr. Churchill here. I want to talk to you about some books I got. It's the first book video in a long time, because I don't live near any bookstores anymore, but the library near my house had a book sale. $1.50 a hardback, $1 for the softback, and I got a couple boxes of stuff. So the Lincoln That Nobody Knows by Richard N. Current. I got publication 1958. The Little Book of Big Reasons to Homeschool by David and Kim Discoto. I think this is quite recent, 2005. Get this one. Philosophers Speak for Themselves, Berkeley, Hume, and Kant. The Great Statements of Berkeley, Hume, and Kant on What Man Can Know and Do, presented in their own words. Edited by T.V. Smith and Marjorie Green. The University of Chicago Press, Phoenix. This one was 1965. Originally published 1940, but updated in 57 and 65. Okay. Existentialism from Dostoevsky to Sartre. The Basic Writings of Existentialism, many never before translated. Selected and introduced by Walter Kaufmann. Existentialism from Dostoevsky to Sartre. Exile's Return by Malcolm Cowley. A literary odyssey of the 1920s. So get this. This is a book of like a bunch of evidence in a murder trial. James Joyce, T.S. Eliot, John Dos Passos, Ernest Hemingway, Ezra Pound, E.E. Cummings, F. Scott Fitzgerald, Matthew Josephson, and Hart Crane. Not all those guys are that bad, but some of them make up for the others. The Rhetoric and Poetics of Aristotle. You know the author. The History of England with Review Questions by David Greenwood. Now this one is for... See, this outline is written to augment a good textbook and is designed to help the student remember the important facts, names, and dates of English history. In addition to the text, a list of readings is included at the end of each chapter. So this is basically a textbook to accompany a textbook, 1958, 1965. Jane Austen, Pride and Prejudice. A book about cats, the visual guide to more than 250 types of cats from around the world. Whatever, light reading, you know, $1. Dimensions of Thinking, a framework for curriculum and instruction. Yeah, right. I haven't sampled it yet, but I'm very, very, very skeptical. I'm skeptical. The Birth of the National Park Service, the founding years from 1913 to 33, by Horace M. Albright, as told to Robert Kahn, C-H-A-N. You got it. You killed it. Why don't you bring that one down? Why don't you bring it down? So, 1985, Howe Brothers, Chicago and Salt Lake City, and Institute of the American West book. Interesting. It's a small-time publisher, sort of, or something. Homeschooling, the Middle Years. Your complete guide to successfully homeschooling the 8 to 12-year-old child. We'll see. I got it to glance through it. Haven't looked at it yet. But the fact that I've read quite a few books on homeschooling, education, and curriculum, and so forth, and only about 2 of them have been any good, I don't have much hope there. Western Civilization, A Brief History, 4th edition by Perry, P-E-R-R-Y. This is a college text. I don't know how bad it would be. It's probably pretty bad, but we'll see someday. I'll dive into it. 2001. So, good luck with that. The Canadian Dominion by Oscar D. Skelton. The Canadian Dominion. Skelton. Skelton strikes me as a name that went on to bit of a voyage or something. Volume 49, The Chronicles of America series, Alan Johnston, editor. Abraham Lincoln edition. Gerhard M. Lohmer, Charles Jeffries, assistant editors. Published 1919. Okay. By Yale University Press, The Canadian Dominion. So a bit of a, let's see, the history of Canada since the close of the French regime falls into 3 clearly marked half-centuries. Korea, The First War We Lost, by Bevan Alexander. How do you like that? It's the first one we lost, you know, when you think about it. We were doing good in our wars up till then. 1986. Why the Germans lose at war. Do they? It's kind of silly to say they lose at war. How about why the Germans lose against the Americans? How about that? Because they beat everybody else. Let Our Cities Burn by Ralph D. Toledano. Right. Unionization of government employees, once held illegal by the courts, now threatens to change the fabric of American life, warns Ralph D. Toledano in this expose of big labor's big new drive. The title comes from the remark made by a labor leader during the Baltimore policemen's strike. Franklin D. Roosevelt rejected unionization of government employees as unthinkable and intolerable because it would give unions the power to paralyze government. Nothing has changed except that now there are millions more government employees. So, an anti-union, 1975. Breaking with Moscow, the highest-ranking Soviet official ever to defect at the time he was under Secretary General of the United Nations, tells an extraordinary story of the inner workings of the Kremlin, of his own conflicted life as a diplomat, and of the frightening world of espionage into which he was drawn. Arkady N. Shevchenko. Published, yes, in the 80s, late 80s, 1985. The Secret Service, The Hidden History of an Enigmatic Agency by Philip M. Melanson, Ph.D. with Peter F. Stevens. Intermediate Algebra. This is Britton and Snively. It says $9 on the inner cover here in a stamp. Must have been a textbook, right? 1947 to 1954. In the years since the publication of the first edition, the mathematical preparation of most students entering college has not changed materially for the better. It is still true that students who elect a course in intermediate algebra usually have poor backgrounds in basic mathematics and are not therefore adequately served by a mere refresher course. Consequently, as in the first edition, we have begun with a brief discussion of the fundamental operations of arithmetic. Clear back in 1954. Now, all that trouble started with the public schools, but it really got bad in the teens and the 20s specifically under John Dewey. U.S. History of Review Text, second edition, Paul M. Roberts, another textbook. This is a bit of a high school textbook here. This one published 1993, original in 89, revised in 93. Nuclear Magnetic Resonance Imaging, The Basic Principles by Stuart W. Young. Why not? You know, I'm interested in it. Let's see here. The Adventures of Don Quixote, New Children's Classics, by Miguel de Cervantes. Stefan Zweig, Balzac, translated by William and Dorothy Rose, in 1946. Essentials of Psychological Testing, Cronbach, third edition. Essentials of Psychological Testing. You know, other books don't go through all these editions, only college texts. And that's so that you can't use the old one, so you have to get the newest updated one.